everybody. Are you a worrier? You know, if you're a worrier, this might be a really difficult time for you with the pandemic and everything. It's so easy to fall into worry and anxiety and stress. Let me give you a few little tips. If you don't want some tips, if you want to continue worrying yourself half to death, then just turn this off now. This is for people who would like some help to stop worrying. So I was brought up in a family, the female line of the family, very great worriers, not warriors. And my grandmother was so good at worrying that if anybody she knew was flying on an airplane and she heard on the news that an airplane crashed anywhere in the world, she was sure that was the plane that they were on, you know, and she'd just be in a tizzy about it. My mother, she used to poo-poo how my grandmother thought about things, but she was a worrier too. She didn't talk about it so much, but she was silently anxious a lot of the time. And what made it even worse is, you know, we don't usually do what people say. We do what they do, at least when they're growing up, when we're growing up. So my mother would say, "Oh, I'm not a nervous person." But I could see that she was so nervous. Anyway, so what this passed along to me, possibly in genetics, definitely by example that was set, is, you know, I turned out to be a pretty anxious person. And I have spent quite a long time working on this. But recently, I found a way to do this. You know, lots of times when something's a problem, we want to have like this big thing that we do and then everything changes. But, you know, I mean, things in life are not usually like that. Usually we have to go step by step by step, usually small steps, you know? So I realized that when I would get anxious over something, something was happening that kind of flipped on, and then I just rolled right along with it. And I realized, actually, I read this in a book by Jill, somebody, can't remember her last name, I think it's called My Stroke of Genius. And she was actually a brain scientist who had a stroke and recovered from it. But she, in describing her recovery, she talks about how she had to learn to control her emotions in a reasonable way. And she learned, or she shared in the book, that with our emotions, we actually learn patterns of reacting to things. You know how you can go into your bedroom and even if it's dark, you know, you put your hand, you know, just where the light switch is without even looking. Because after, you know, weeks, months, years of always flipping that light on, your body has just learned where it is. It's set up a nervous pathway, and you can turn that light on. It's kind of like how sometimes if you get in your car and you're used to maybe driving into work every day or into school, that if you're not really thinking about it, and maybe, you know, this day you're going to go someplace else, and you kind of realize, oh my gosh, what am I doing at work? Or what am I doing at school? This is not where I meant to drive. But, you know, this is actually a helpful thing, that our body and mind work together so that we don't always have to be thinking about every little thing. Like if we go in the bedroom, we don't have to look and, okay, here's the light switch. I put my hand here, I turn it on. No, our body, in a sense, automates things because then it frees up our mind to deal with other stuff. Okay? Well, our body and our mind also automate a lot of emotional reactions. And I just want to say that many people think about, okay, how am I feeling? And they gauge what's going on in a situation by how they are feeling. Don't do that. You can use how you're feeling to help inform the executive part of your brain, the practical, reasonable part, as far as making decisions. But you can't just go 100% with how you're feeling, because a lot of times our feelings are inaccurate, or they're happening because we've set up a pattern from past things that have happened. And I'll give you another example. I moved from one apartment in my apartment complex to another one. And the bedroom lights, actually, the light switch, as it happens, is a slightly different height and a slightly different distance away from the door frame than my old apartment. My old apartment was on the second floor. This one's on the first floor. The ceilings are different heights, because of the top floor versus the bottom floor. Anyway, so whenever I'd go in the bedroom, I'd put my hand, but the light switch wasn't there. But why was I doing that? Was I stupid? Was I not thinking? I was not thinking. I was going by what had been automated, what my body had learned from being in the old apartment. And I had to relearn with mind and body. Now I can go in, I don't have to see the switch. Just stick my hand in, flip it on or off or whatever. Okay, so I said your emotions also get automated. Okay, so here's an example. Last night, I was laying in bed, I was starting to fall asleep, and I heard this clunk somewhere out in some other part of the apartment. Well, I'm not a real scary kind of person, that just goes, oh my gosh, well, unless I think there's a bug or a mouse or something. Now that's different. Or a snake that's in the house. They don't belong in the house. Anyway, so I heard this clunk, and I perked up a little bit. I came a little less asleep. I thought, okay, do I need to get out of bed? Did I lock all the doors and windows and everything? Yes, I distinctly remember doing that. Something probably just fell over, or the air conditioner might have come on, and blown something over, and I just went to sleep. I didn't get all, whipped up about it, because there are some people who, one, they'd either lay there going, oh my gosh, what was that? Oh no, what was it? And then there's other people that would grab the baseball bat or something and tiptoe out. But anyway, I want to show you what it was, because I had forgotten all about it this morning. And then I came out in the kitchen. And for most things, there's usually a reasonable explanation. I've been leaving this in the sink. Let me turn this around. All morning so I could show you. So see this? This is it's a suction cup little towel bar. Probably need to wet it a little bit to get it to stay up. But it had come loose, and I leave this little cutting board always hanging from it. And what I heard last night was when the towel bar let loose, I heard that clunk. Okay? And this morning, when I saw the cutting board in the sink, I went, oh yeah, that's what that was. Okay, so here's something that you can do. Now, if you're getting all whipped up and worried about the pandemic, first of all, turn off the TV, turn off the radio, get off the internet. You know what? Your knowing what's going on is not going to change anything. The only thing that's going to change things is you following the instructions that the Centers for Disease Control have given us. You know, if you go out around people, in a lot of states, you know, we're wearing masks, just made out of a bandana. Here, I'll show you mine. Or best practice, stay at home, right? And washing hands and not touching faces, you know, and all that stuff. Here's mine. I had a bandana. I folded it in thirds and folded it again, and I'm ready to rob a bank or go out among people if I had to go to the store, but I'm not even doing that. God bless my daughter and son-in-law. They shop for me so I don't have to be exposed, because I'm at an age that puts me at higher risk, regardless of the fact that I'm healthy. Okay, so first thing, if you're worried, you don't want to be giving yourself more input that will make you worry more. If I was one of those people that got if I heard noises in the night, I would not spend time reading about people whose houses got broken into, or, you know, all those kind of things. I wouldn't, whether they're fiction or true, I would stay away from that. I don't need to feed unhealthy worry, okay? But here's what you can do if you know how sometimes you get that, it's like you kind of realize something and all of a sudden you're worried about it. Okay, this is what you do. Take a few deep breaths, or change your position. Stand up and say stop, or walk to a different room or walk outside. Okay, let me tell you what this does. This takes things from the emotional back part of your brain to the prefrontal cortex, which is in the front of your brain, and that's the executive branch of your brain that is, you know, thinking and practical and reasonable and logical and makes decisions and plans and all this stuff, okay? So if you will actually change your position, if you're someplace where you can't do that, even if you just smile, sometimes that'll be enough to shake you out of that emotional sort of reaction. And then say to yourself, all right, what's going on here? I'm all of a sudden worried. Sometimes you don't even know what you're worried about. And I have that happen to me sometimes. And I have to do this. And I say, okay, not going there. I am not getting on this snowball and just, whoa, you know, going down the hill. I'm not going to do this. And find something to distract yourself. Find something that will make you think about something else, because what you've done is you've broken that mind-body pathway. It's just like in my new apartment when I was trying to turn the light on, but it's not where my body had learned from the old apartment. I had to, you know, I couldn't just keep feeling around. That was very unproductive. So I said, okay, there it is. I turn it on like this. And I had to practice a little bit, you know, until my body and mind finally learned where the new light switch was. Well, this is the same thing. You can get yourself out of these worries, but two things. One is you've got to find a way to distract yourself so you don't just settle back into it, because you're probably used to doing that. And you want to break this habit, okay? And the other thing is, it's going to take some practice, okay? I did not learn where that new light switch was the first time, all right? I had, you know, like I go in the bedroom, I put my hand up, and I think, okay, let me look. All right, there it is. I had to teach my mind and my body the new location. Well, this is the same exact thing. You know, if your thoughts were broadcast across your forehead, and they could be read. It's just as like physical, just as tangible as learning to turn the light switch on. Okay, it's something that you have to teach yourself. And how do you learn anything? You have to practice. You have to repeat it, right? So, if you're having trouble with being stressed, worried, anxious during this time, stop. Did I startle you? You got to stop, all right? And engage the prefrontal cortex, the executive branch of your brain, and make those emotions take a back seat and don't listen to them, okay? Sometimes it helps to be reasonable and think, and for those of you who read the Bible, this is in the Bible too, about your worry. It can't change anything. Is it going to add to your height or anything like that? Oh gee, if worry could do stuff like that, I would have worried myself to be so skinny by now, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, in fact, it kind of worked the other way for me. The more I worried about it, the more I gained. Anyhow, be that as it may. So, say to yourself, I say to myself, okay, what is worrying accomplishing? Now, here's the thing, and I'm gonna wind up here, okay? You may still feel worried when you're saying that. You may still be believing. You may still be listening to that emotional backseat driver saying, oh no, panic. All right? That's why I'm telling you, say stop, take a few deep breaths, get up, change your position, go outside, go in a different room, okay? Because you need a little physical sort of little knock in the head to help you to get out of that feeling so that you are able to think things through and say, you know what? My worry is not going to change anything. I mean, what else can I say? I would love it if you would put in the comments how you deal with worry. Anyhow, I've been practicing this and practicing it, and that's why last night when I heard that clunk, I didn't get all scared or upset or have to jump out of bed and run and see what it was, because I knew there was probably a logical explanation. Now, if I had continued to hear noises, then I would have gotten the baseball bat and been looking around, or possibly cowering under the bed, one or the other. But the point is, we need to learn to be reasonable when we need that, and we need to practice it so that eventually, just like my new light switch, so eventually you can react reasonably to something instead of, oh no. Okay? So I hope I've broken it down enough for you that you can do that or share it with somebody else. And I hope you have a good day where if you have concerns, they're about things that are constructive that you can actually do something about, like your own worrying. Okay? God bless you.